The current situation in our country calls for a national dialogue. It calls for unity and an end to the cycle of violence and atrocities.
Inclusivity, integrity, and transparency by organizing the national dialogue process around a constituency-based system.
The agenda of the conference, whatever level, must be capable of addressing the root causes of the conflict. Because we want to end the conflict. So let us talk about these things that brought about the conflict, that brought about division, that brought all the ills.
The steering committee is going to invite and to dialogue with Riek Machar and to invite him to come and join us in the peace process.
One of the causes of this war is mismanagement of the national wealth, of the national resources. How people they play with the resources of the nation.
The national dialogue, when it was initiated, it was given to us so that we South Sudanese can talk to each other and try to find out what differences we have among us each other so that we can be able to work them out and live as one people. Basically, it is in line with what ANATABAN is trying to achieve, giving the people the opportunity to talk to each other so that they can be able to realize their differences and live together peacefully.
I think the national dialogue is a local initiative made by South Sudanese. So we as South Sudanese, we can sit together and dialogue among ourselves and find a final solution to what we are living in.
The national dialogue, in a nutshell, is an exercise that the South Sudanese can be able to interact. The South Sudanese can be able to vomit whatever difficulties that they have. The South Sudanese can be able actually, you see, to speak freely from the trauma that they underwent for the last 5 decades. The people of the Republic of South Sudan should not hide anything. They should talk openly as brothers and sisters and face the problems that are facing them head on.
The national dialogue, for us as an institution, we look at it in a way that supports the peace processes. As you know, the country has been plunged into crisis. So such kind of mechanism to try to put an effort to bring peace in South Sudan, we as an institution would look at, for instance, the objectives of strengthening social contracts between the citizens and the state. And I think that is a very, very important objective. Media plays a very, very important role in that objective, where we bring the voices of the citizens to the state.
We view the national dialogue as something good, and in a way that if it is done in a genuine manner. What do I mean by a genuine manner? If it is done in a way that it is put as a process which is to be actually led by the people themselves. I mean, it should be something like a kind of citizen-centered process whereby the citizens are allowed to take lead, to participate, rather than a kind of an elite-driven process.
National dialogue has got three levels of leadership. First is the leadership of the national dialogue, which consists of 9 members, 6 men and 3 women. There is the chairperson or the co-chair, because there are 2, Angelo Beda and Abel Alier. These are the co-chair. Then there is deputy co-chair, that is Gabriel LUAL. Then there is rapporteur, who is born at LUAL, and he has 2 deputies. The first deputy rapporteur is Francis Mading Deng, Dr. Francis Mading Deng, and the second is Dr. William Othon. Then you have the ladies in the leadership. They are Dr. Betty Achan, Lilian Valentino, and the third is Mary Vicencio Loro Wani. Mary Vicencio Wani. This is the third member of the leadership. Then there is the National Dialogue Steering Committee itself, and there are about 120 persons. About 20, actually 19 of them are women. Then the third level is the Secretariat, which is headed by the coordinator, Dr. LUAL Deng. LUAL Deng is the coordinator, and he has got an assistant. He's called Dr. Leben Moro. He is the assistant coordinator. Then there are 5 or 6 units. The information unit, communication and information unit, the one I had is 1. Then there is the finance unit, which is headed by Abraham Wodich, yes. Then there is the research unit, which is headed by Dr. Leben Moro. Then there is documentation unit, and it is headed by Pagan Matthew, Dr. Pagan Matthew. Then there is the operations unit, operations and logistics.
The role of the Secretariat is to provide what we call technical backstopping to the process, to the leadership and to the plenary, by way of ensuring documentation, not just documentation, but quality documentation. So far, the grassroots consultation have gone well. The reports have come back, and the Secretariat has been looking at, and also to ensure that they are in more readable form. And this is why UNDP has been asked to provide an English editor. So not just to change the subject matter, but to edit English to make sure that it is it is accessible.
First, the steering committee took itself time to understand the process. That is a big effort. After understanding the process, the committee was divided into 15 subcommittees, and then they went down to the grassroots to listen to the voices of the people. They went to every area possible. Maybe they didn't cover all the areas due to some difficulties, transport, accessibility, and also funding. But from what they brought from the ground, it brought in a lot of positive suggestions from the community, which will help the national dialogue to advise the government on what the people have said. The other effort is of the leadership of the national dialogue. They took effort to engage everybody to be part and parcel of the national dialogue, particularly the leadership of the opposition. The leadership of the National Dialogue, headed by Honorable Angelo Beda, went to South Africa twice in order to meet Dr. Riek Machar and engage him so that his team, not necessarily himself if he cannot make it, but his group as the SPLM in opposition should also be part of the National Dialogue. If they cannot come to Juba, they can be reached anywhere where they would like to be reached, because their voices are important. Also, another group led by Honorable Gabriel LUAL of the leadership went to Khartoum to meet another opposition led by Dr. Lamakol. The same was that they should really be engaged in the dialogue. Why are we doing all these efforts? Because dialogue is the only way that people can solve problems. Dialogue is the only way that people can unearth problems and give suggestions and move forward. So internal dialogue is much more important than external dialogue. Internal dialogue, and especially the grassroots, the voices, is important because for the first time, the people of South Sudan felt the government have come down to them to listen to their grievances.
We have allowed communities to speak first and then select their delegates, send them to the regional. So there will be regional dialogue forums in the all 3 regions of South Sudan, Greater Equatoria, Greater Bahrazal, Greater Upper Nile, and where they will now be looking at what the grassroots have said, and then before it goes to the National Dialogue Forum. So in that way, it's something unique in its own way, and those who were doubting, they started to come on board. They asked the leadership to go and brief them, and the Honorable Angelo Beda, who is the co-chair, went, accompanied by Dr. Francis Deng, who is the deputy rapporteur, and Dr. Betty Oguaro, and they briefed the church, the Catholic Church. And now we are having a follow-up, the leadership with them, to see how they could help in the next steps. Especially we have one area which we have not been able to access, that is Akobo, which is under the control of the IO. The leadership would like the church to conduct a grassroots consultation in Akobo.
So we are facilitating the consultation meeting between the women, the business community, and the security sector. We hope that they will give a very good view and raise up very good issues and solutions.
And the women in the steering committee support the women on the grassroots to bring out the issues of the women clearly, so that it is not just an afterthought, but it is a mainstreamed issue. The issue of the women, peace and security is very important. When we talk of the 4 pillars of the peace and security, the protection, women want to know how can they enhance the women in the village to talk about protection or even protect themselves, and how can we enhance the women in general to talk about participation. It is not about numbers only now. We know we were campaigning to be 25% at every level, but now we also want the women, even if they are 25%, they must be more than the quantity, but the quality.
So this is the setup of the National Dialogue. We have the leadership, then the steering committee, and the Secretariat. And all these people were appointed by the president.
Wala